Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. This is the third lab in our section, and in this lab we're going to create all the automation and we're going to create our gold standard Amazon Machine Image or AMI, which we're going to then use in our auto-scaling groups in the next lab. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just show you how WordPress works. So if we go into the WordPress directory, so we go cd wp content, and we go ls, and we go into the uploads subdirectory, you can see actually right now there's nothing in here. So I'm going to go back over to my WordPress site and I'm going to upload a picture. Okay, so I'm in my WordPress dashboard right now. I'm going to go across over to media and I'm going to add a new media. I'm going to select files. I've got a couple of pictures of my business partner Anthony in here. I probably should do an appropriate one, so I'm going to do one of him using his PC on the train. So there he is. You can see there's been no errors in uploading. If you do get an error about something not being writable, make sure you run that chmod and chown commands that we saw in the last lecture. So that's successfully uploaded. It's generated a thumbnail. If I go over to my posts, I can actually update my post and put this picture of Anthony in there. So I can go in here and go add media, select and hit insert into post. And there we go, he's using his laptop and there's our little sticker on his laptop. And if you do want some stickers, guys, definitely reach out to us. We give out stickers at the AWS Summits, at reInvent, and at the AWS user groups. You just need to come find us. So now that that's been done, I'm going to go ahead and hit update. So that is now updating. And if I go over and go to a force.guru, we can see it's updated already. So it is live. It says, hello, Cloud Gurus. So let's go back over to the console. Okay, so I'm back over in the console. If I now type in ls, you'll see that WordPress has created a new directory called 2016. If I go into 2016, we have 04, which is the month. So if I go into 04, we can then see this picture. So we've got Anthony2.jpg. So basically what I'm trying to show you is that this file that I've just uploaded to my EC2 instance is being stored locally on the EC2 instance. And it's in the /var /www /html /wp content /uploads and then the dates. So what we want to now do is automate this in such a fashion so that all our uploads go to an S3 bucket that we're going to use as our CloudFront CDN. And so then that way, when people visit our S3, visit our WordPress site, all media assets are going to be served out of CloudFront. They're not going to be served from the EC2 instance. So it sounds complicated. How do we actually do it? Well, it's pretty simple actually, guys. Okay, so if we just go back to our cd var www/html directory, and I'm just going to clear the screen. Okay, so what we want to start doing is we want to start synchronizing the content from our WordPress uploads directory to our S3 bucket. So the first thing I want to do now is I want to figure out what my S3 bucket is. So I'm going to type in AWS S3 LS. So it's called WordPress Media 16 A Cloud Guru. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to copy my WP content directory /uploads directory to my S3 bucket. And we're going to put this in the media bucket because that's where our CloudFront distribution is. So we're going to type in AWS S3 and then copy. I'm going to do this recursively. So type in recursive. And then the path is var www html / and then it's wp content. And then it is called uploads. And then that's it. And we're going to put this on S3 to our WordPress Media 16 A Cloud Guru. And I'm going to hit enter. And this will then copy up that particular file. Now, so that is up there in the S3 bucket, and it's going to be served out of CloudFront automatically if I want to go and try and access that via S3. Now, I'm just going to quickly switch over to the WordPress console for a second. Okay, so I'm in the WordPress dashboard, and what I want to do now is I'm just going to go over to media, and I'm going to upload a new file. So I'm going to go add new, I'm going to select a file, and this is a picture of my brother Sam giving a talk at the AWS Sydney Summit to around 1,200 people, which he was very pleased with. And I'm just going to go and embed this in a post. So go ahead and go over here. He was giving a talk on Lambda and the fact that our school is basically runs off serverless architecture. It's quite fascinating. And we are actually producing an entire course on that later on. So do check that out on our platform. So there he is giving a talk. We've added it to our Hello World post. Just going to hit update and just wait for it to save. Then I'm just going to go back over to aCloud, whoops, not aCloud Guru, it's aForce Guru. And then if we scroll down, you can see that has already been uploaded. So what I'm going to do now is just go back to the console. Okay, so I'm back in the console, and we could run this AWS S3 copy command, and basically it's going to copy two files. It's going to copy the Antony file, and it's going to copy the Sam at the Sydney Summit file. But that's not really efficient. You know, we've only made changes to one file. We've created a new file, which was that new picture that we just uploaded. So why copy two files when we should just copy the changes? And the command that we can use for that is sync. So we type in AWS S3 and then sync. And then we want to sync the var www html /wp content /uploads directory. And we are going to sync that over to S3. And it's called WordPress Media 16 aCloud Guru. And then you can put the delete marker in here. Now that's quite important. So that basically means that it will be a perfect sync. So if we were then to go in and delete this particular image file, and then we were to run this sync, then that deletion would take effect on our S3 bucket. If we don't leave this deletion marker in, it means that if you do delete a file on your EC2 instance, it won't be deleted from S3. And then sometimes I get a bit nervous about it, so I also just do a dry run just to make sure that it will actually work. And you can see here it's done a dry run and it's only done one file. So it hasn't done the Antony file, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted it to do. So I'm just going to hit up and take out the dry run. And using this command now, it means that we're just syncing the changes, okay? So we've just synced the change up to our S3 bucket. So now that this file is up in our S3 bucket, it's being delivered out through CloudFront. So how can we force WordPress to start using CloudFront instead of serving it from this EC2 instance? Well, that's where URL rewrites come in. Now, what we need to do is we need to create a file called htaccess and then create some rewrite rules in that htaccess file. And then we need to basically restart the Apache service to get it all up and going. So how do we do this? Well, we've made it really, really easy for you. Make sure you're in the var www html directory. Just going to clear the screen. And what you need to do is you can either download it in the resources section of the course, or it's probably much easier to do it this way. Just type in wget, and then it's https // and then it's s3-eu-west-1, and then it's .amazonaws.com. And then it's / aCloud Guru, and then / and the subdirectory is called config. And then what we want to do is get the htaccess. Okay, so that's downloaded. And now what we want to do is that file is just called htaccess. So we want to copy htaccess and we want to make it .htaccess. And then we can just remove the old htaccess for good measure. So remove rf htaccess. Okay, so we've got the htaccess. If you want to have a look at what that looks like, just type in htaccess in here. Now, this is really important. Here is our rewrite rule. And you can see it's rewriting the wp content / uploads directory. And it's going to rewrite that to our CloudFront CDN. So what we need to do in here is we need to cut and paste our CloudFront endpoint. And we can do that by going into CloudFront itself. So here I am in the console. If we go across to CloudFront, click in here, and we can just grab the domain name. So this is my CloudFront domain name. I'm just going to copy that and go back over to the terminal. And I'm going to remove this old one out, and you just need to replace it with your CloudFront domain name in here. So we just go ahead and hit enter. So that's my CloudFront domain name. I'm going to exit. I'm going to save my changes and hit enter. And then I'm going to restart the HTTPD service, so the Apache service. So it's going to be service HTTPD restart. And now because we've forced a restart, I'm going to clear the screen. What should happen is we'll get URL rewrite rules coming in so that when we go and view those images on our website, we'll be hitting a CloudFront CDN instead of serving it from our EC2 instance. So let's go over to a browser. Okay, so here I am in the browser. I'm just going to refresh the page. And then if I click on this picture of Anthony or this picture of Sam at the summit, I right click and just go over to copy image address. And we try and go to the image address. So we're trying to go to aforce.guru/wp-content/uploads and then the subdirectory Sydney Summit and hit enter. Now, if I click up here, you'll see that it's automatically served that image not through my EC2 instance. It's actually come out of CloudFront. So that URL rewrite is working, and we are now serving all our media assets out of CloudFront. Now, all we have to start doing is automating this. So let's go back to the console. Okay, so the way we automate this is we go over to the etc directory and we're going to nano our cron tab. And cron tab is basically just the Linux version of scheduled tasks. So we want to create a scheduled task down here or a cron job down here, and we're going to do two things. We're going to sync our website code to our S3 bucket, and then we're going to sync our uploads directory over to our CDN. Okay, so if you've never used cron tab before, it's really, really simple. So we're going to do our wildcard and then the divide by and then 2. So we're going to basically be running this command every 2 minutes, and it's going to be on every hour of every day of the month of every day of the week. And then we use the username that we want to run this at. So it's going to be at root and then the command. So it's going to be AWS S3. We're going to run the sync command. We're not going to run the copy command. The reason we're running sync is we only want to sync the changes because we don't want to be copying this every 2 minutes. It's a waste of resources. So it's going to be sync. We're going to make sure that it deletes files so that you have a perfect replica of your EC2 environment with S3. And then it's just the path. So it's our var www HTML directory. And we're going to sync that to S3. If you can't remember your bucket name, you can go check it out in the S3 console. So mine was WordPress code 16 A Cloud Guru. And then that's it. So essentially that's going to sync our var www HTML directory with our S3 bucket every 2 minutes. And then we want to do something similar for our uploads directory. So again, we'll just do divide by 2, and then wildcard, then root, then our command is AWS S3, and then sync, then delete, and then it's going to be our var www HTML, and then it's wp-content, and then it's uploads, and then we're going to sync that with S3, and the name of our bucket was WordPress Media 16 A Cloud Guru. Now the last thing we have to do is basically download the contents of our S3 bucket to this EC2 instance. So if you think about what we're trying to achieve is we're going to have multiple EC2 instances. And if you make a change on one, that's going to be replicated up to S3, but then you also want to download those changes. Now, this is a bit messy. We could have done this neater. Normally, what you would do is you'd have a dedicated EC2 instance just to make changes on. You might have like a write.aforce.guru, so you might have a subdomain to access that instance. And then you have a fleet of EC2 instances that are just basically read-only. It doesn't do any writes, and all the EC2 instance would do is just pull down any changes that are made to the bucket. So the way you would do that is you would do star, divide by, and let's just do this every 3 minutes just to be different. And then we'll go across here. So we type in root, and then it would be AWS S3, and then sync, and then delete. And essentially what we're doing is we're just flipping this whole thing on its head. So all we want to do is download our code. So it's going to be S3 WordPress code 16 A Cloud Guru. And we're going to download that to our var www HTML directory. And that's going to happen every 3 minutes. So if you're going to do this in production, I'd recommend that you have a dedicated EC2 instance for your marketing people who are going to be doing all the blogs. And then they basically just run the first 2 lines of code on the cron tab. So we'll always push any changes they make up to S3. And then if you have a fleet of EC2 instances would then run this third line of code, which just pulls any changes down. So I'm just going to leave it all in here now, and we'll see what happens. But essentially what this should do is it will, if we make any changes to this EC2 instance, it's going to replicate those changes both up to the code as well as up to our, our uploads directory, which is being offloaded onto our CDN. And then on line 3, it's basically going to download any changes to our code which other EC2 instances may have made. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes and just hit enter. So we've saved this and we've exited. I'm going to clear the screen. And the way we're going to test this now is we're going to go over to WordPress and we're going to upload a third image, and we're going to just wait for 5 minutes and see if this image is automatically replicated to our S3 bucket. Okay, so here I am in my WordPress dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and go over to my media, and I'm just going to add a new picture. I'm going to go ahead and hit select files. I'm going to pick a picture of me. This is me in the recording studio, and I'm literally recording this right now. Now, the thumbnail generation hasn't occurred. It has actually occurred, but what's happening right now is that your URL rewrite is trying to pass this over to your CDN. So you're going to just get this little error message, or it's not going to appear. But that file does exist, and the thumbnail does exist. It just hasn't replicated yet to our CDN. So if we go back over to posts and we click on Hello Cloud Gurus, we go into add our media, you'll see again it hasn't replicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the video. I'm going to come out of this and just pause the video for about 3 minutes, and then hopefully we will be able to see our thumbnail. Okay, and I've just refreshed that, and now I can see my thumbnail. So there I am. It's again coming out through the CDN. If we actually go over to S3 and we go over to WordPress Media and click in here, we can see that cron has actually, we've run a cron job and moved the ryan.jpg file over to our bucket. So we've now got our EC2 instance to a point where we want to take a snapshot of it and create an AMI. And we're going to use this AMI to put into our auto-scaling groups. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go down to EC2. Okay, so I'm in my EC2 console, and there's a couple of ways we can create an image. We can do a snapshot first of the EBS volume and then turn that snapshot into an AMI. But the easiest and most straightforward way is to select our EC2 instance and go to Actions, and then we just go down to Image, Create Image. And so in here I'm going to call it we'll call it Template WordPress Web Server. I'm going to do the same description. So no reboot is an interesting option. Basically, it won't reboot if you check this box, it won't reboot your EC2 instance in the image creation process. Now this can cause issues with data consistency. So it says when enabled, Amazon EC2 does not shut down the instance before creating the image. When this option is used, file system integrity on the created image cannot be guaranteed. And actually, if you have a look at one of my sort of failed images over here, this my test, I actually selected that just as a test, and I couldn't SSH into my EC2 instance, and it wouldn't start the Apache service. So I think the image itself was corrupt. So it's basically recommended practice if you can afford downtime for your image to not select that no reboot option. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Create Image. Okay, so that image is creating. It can take a little bit of time. It's normally about 5 minutes or so. So I'm just going to go ahead and pause the video. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and have a look at our AMIs. And there we go. So I've got my AMI already. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and launch this AMI. So I'm going to launch it as a T2 micro. I'm just going to test it out. I'm going to launch it with the S3 role. And just to make sure everything runs smoothly, I'm going to run this Bootstrap script that I've got. It's a smaller one, and you'll find this in the resources section of the course. So I'm going to put it in here, and all it does is basically it's got our shebang with our path to our interpreter. It's going to run a yum update, and then it's going to sync our S3 bucket immediately to our var www.html directory. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next, add our storage. I'm going to leave everything else as default. I'm going to call this one my test 2. And I'm going to go ahead and hit next. I'm going to put this in my WebDMZ security group. Go ahead and hit review and launch, and I'm going to go and launch this, and I acknowledge that I have access to the private key. So if all goes well, when this instance becomes live, I should just be able to go to the public IP address and I'll be able to see my WordPress site with the pictures of Anthony and Sam at the AWS Sydney Summit. So I'm just going to pause the video and wait for this EC2 instance to come up online. Okay, that's now finished provisioning. I had a little issue which I've fixed, so I had to spin up a second one, but there's no issues on the video, so if you follow along, you should be able to see it yourself. So we just grab the public IP address and we go over here, and you can see here I've already entered it in. So it's displaying our WordPress site, and if I copy the image address for Anthony on the train and then hit enter, you can see it's being served out of CloudFront. So now that we've got this all set up, we're ready to move on to the next lecture. And in the next lecture, we're going to basically create our own launch configuration group and our own auto scaling group. And then we're going to go in and stress test our EC2 instances. So if you've got the time, please join me in the next lecture. Thank you.